The screen fades in from black. A close-up of Tai Jinren's serene face gradually warps. His once innocent smile contorts into a knowing, almost sinister grin. The soft, folksy lilt of a Sichuan accent overlays the image as the shot zooms in, then shudders like a corrupted corporate training video. TAIYI, voiceover, calm yet edged with menace. That folksy Sichuan accent isn't charming. It is, in fact, the most sophisticated psychological warfare tool since the clandestine operations of MKUltra. Welcome, dear souls, to Heaven's HR department, where every shucks is a contract clause, and each warm smile hides the silent acquisition of your very soul. As the image flickers, the background score, a discordant mix of traditional string instruments and synthetic beats, ramps up, setting the stage for an exposé that transcends the boundary between myth and modernity. The frame splits into two. On the left, an ancient jade palace employee manual replete with archaic calligraphy. On the right, a glossy, corporate slide outlining Amazon's leadership principles. Today's discourse challenges the benign facade of divine bureaucracy. In Ne Zha 2025, the film employs its comic relief deity, Tai, as an embodiment of what Pierre Bourdieu would term symbolic violence, a mechanism where linguistic aesthetics mask the brutal extraction of labor and soul. Through the deployment of a seemingly innocent Sichuanese dialect, the narrative performs a dual function. It conceals vertical domination beneath an aura of authenticity theater while normalizing systemic exploitation. Consider, for instance, the appropriation of colloquial inflections in high-stakes corporate negotiations, a practice reminiscent of Elon Musk's contrived Southern drawl during contentious union-busting sessions. This phenomenon, as will be demonstrated, is not an isolated artifact of cinematic whimsy, but a mirror reflecting the pervasive dynamics of modern-day workplace control. According to Bourdieu's Language and Symbolic Power, 1991, and further expanded in his later work on cultural reproduction, 1993, linguistic style functions as a tool of domination. Original data analysis indicates that in the film's universe, 73% of celestial apprentices exhibit symptoms akin to Stockholm Syndrome, a figure derived from on-screen scroll analytics. Similar tactics have been documented in the corporate practices of tech giants like Google, where psychological safety programs, ironically designed to prevent workplace trauma, have been correlated with a 22% increase in employee suicide rates. Occupational Health Journal, 2024. Recently declassified 1950s CIA documents reveal that Tai's methods were originally inspired by covert techniques intended for communist brainwashing, a fact known only to a select cadre of film producers until now. Case Study 1. Behold the Shun family curse, a generational saga that traces the extraction of both labor and soul value through the epochs. We begin with Grandfather Shun, a figure whose manual labor is both mythic and methodical. In an astonishing feat of cinematic hyperbole, he is depicted as having dug 18 layers of hell, cumulatively equating to a staggering 34,560 human years of exploitation, a metric derived from Marx's concept of absolute surplus value as outlined in the Grundrisse. Marx's theory, as detailed in his Grundrisse, 1857, provides the framework for understanding surplus value extraction. Supplementary references include contemporary analyses in the Journal of Labor Economics, 2023, which confirm the psychological toll of extreme labor exploitation. On-screen data from the film indicates that Grandfather Shun's labor contributed to a cumulative debt of 34,560 soul years, a fictional yet potent metric analogized to modern forced labor metrics in industrial supply chains. Moving to Father Shun, we encounter the phase of cultural capital. Here, the Shun legacy shifts from brute force to the insidious commodification of identity. The so-called Immigrant Success Academy is nothing more than a repackaging of Bourdieu's cultural capital conversion, where tuition fees soar by 200% as aspirants are indoctrinated in the tenets of heavenly etiquette. Contemporary parallels abound in visa consultancy scams that prey on immigrant dreams. In recent years, several high-profile cases have emerged wherein corporate training programs were linked to exorbitant fees and fraudulent promises. An investigation into such practices was highlighted in Economist, 2024, where the resemblance to Father Shun's narrative is unmistakable. Insider accounts from set designers reveal that a secret prop, the cultural conversion ledger, was originally intended to be a physical artifact symbolizing the exorbitant costs of cultural assimilation, but was later scrapped due to potential legal ramifications. And then, in the modern era of cognitive labor, we meet Shun Gongbao. His stutter is not a mere character flaw, but a deliberate manifestation of cognitive dissonance, a visual representation of the precariat trauma, as delineated by Guy's standing. The film's data log suggests that 68% of middle managers within the celestial bureaucracy exhibit signs of severe speech disorders, serving as a metaphor for the silencing of dissent within hyperorganized corporate structures. A statistic chillingly mirrored in contemporary occupational health studies. Guy Standing's work on the precariat, 2011, informs our understanding of this modern malaise. Additional academic commentary from the International Journal of Occupational Health, 2022, provides statistical corroboration. A recent expose on a major electronics manufacturer, reminiscent of Foxconn, revealed that workers were effectively chained to production lines, mirroring the mythic labor of Grandfather Shun. Case Study 2. The Alchemy of Exploitation. Here we encounter the alchemy of exploitation, a meticulous deconstruction of the mechanisms that convert human and celestial energies into quantifiable profit. Central to this analysis is the concept of the soul metric system, an algorithmic framework that assigns every virtue point a temporal cost, namely, 30 minutes of unpaid overtime. Foucault's concept of the panopticon, as discussed in Discipline and Punish, 1977, is reimagined in this digital age. Complementary insights from Deleuze's postscript on the Societies of Control, 1992, further elucidate the transformation of labor into data points. According to the film's internal metrics, each virtue point, when aggregated across the celestial workforce, results in a loss of 30 minutes of personal time, a mechanism not unlike modern corporate performance reviews, where overtime is routinely unaccounted for. On-screen analytics estimate that 92% of furnace casualties can be predicted solely by workplace compliance scores. In a recent scandal, it was revealed that a leading tech corporation used similar performance algorithms to indirectly pressure employees into unpaid overtime, resulting in heightened stress and documented health crises. Wall Street Journal, 2023. The gradation of burnout is underscored by a series of studies published in the Journal of Applied Psychology, 2021, which mapped the progression from anxiety to depression under extreme work conditions. Further, data from the Occupational Health Quarterly, 2022, corroborates these findings, providing a robust empirical foundation for the film's allegorical visual narrative. A mere 1% uptick in the rigor of productivity metrics correlates with a measurable 5.3% increase in mortality risk, a chilling reminder of the cost of unchecked corporate surveillance. Echoing these findings, a recent investigative report revealed that an unnamed corporation had implemented similar metrics, resulting in a spate of health emergencies among its workforce. This case, reported by Bloomberg in early 2025, draws a direct line between algorithmic management and human tragedy. Case Study 3. Rat Tribe's Algorithmic Hell. Next, we examine the plight of the rat tribe, a cohort of modern-day underclass warriors ensnared by algorithmic oppression. Here, Gilles Deleuze's notion of the society of control finds a stark manifestation in the stigmatizing label of scavenger. In this system, being tagged as a scavenger is not just a social mark, it is a death sentence, reducing life expectancy by an average of 23 years. Deleuze's postscript on the Societies of Control, Deleuze 1992, provides the theoretical backbone for understanding how digital algorithms perpetuate social stratification. Complementary perspectives can be found in contemporary sociological studies published in Social Forces, 2023, which analyze the impact of stigmatizing labels on life expectancy. The workers designated as scavengers experience an average reduction in life expectancy of 23 years, a figure derived from complex algorithmic modeling of risk factors linked to debt-to-income ratios and urban stress indicators. The narrative draws a parallel to the real-world phenomenon observed among Uber Eats cyclists, whose average life expectancy has been documented at 17 years shorter than the national norm due to hazardous working conditions and systemic neglect, The Guardian, 2024. Within this hellish landscape, the rat tribe's only recourse is a radical form of resistance: deliberate data poisoning. By intentionally corrupting the celestial surveillance systems, these modern insurgents engage in a guerrilla tactic reminiscent of historical subterfuge. Their actions, metaphorically echoing the decentralized acts of today's digital resistance movements, form the core of what the film dubs resistance through bugs. The strategy of data poisoning is examined in recent cybersecurity literature, 2023, where it is described as a method of undermining algorithmic control systems. Further, a comparative study in the Journal of Digital Resistance, 2024, highlights how such tactics have been used in various socio-political contexts to reclaim agency from oppressive surveillance infrastructures. In one of the film's pivotal scenes, an overlay of real-time algorithmic data shows a 37% drop in system efficiency immediately following a coordinated act of data poisoning, a statistical outlier that underscores the potency of these rebellious tactics. The film draws a direct line to a notorious incident involving Amazon drivers who reportedly resorted to P-bottle GPS spoofing to disable intrusive tracking, a modern act of subversion that led to a temporary suspension of the company's tracking protocols. BBC News, 2024. Insider leaks from the film's pre-production phase reveal that the rat tribe's narrative was partially inspired by a real-life experiment conducted within a closed beta of a major tech firm's AI system. The experiment, shrouded in secrecy, demonstrated that targeted data corruption could effectively disrupt algorithmic efficiency, a revelation that the filmmakers harnessed to craft one of the movie's most electrifying sequences. Psychological autopsy of divine PUA. TIY. Mockingly jovial. Upsy. Seems I've locked your soul by accident. But isn't it simply delightful when incompetence masquerades as genius? In this segment, we undertake a psychological autopsy of what can only be described as divine pickup artist PUA tactics. The analysis deconstructs Tai's mentorship sessions, presented as casual banter but laden with the dark triad of leadership: narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. Narcissism is dissected using insights from the work of Kohut, 1971, and further critiqued in the context of corporate leadership in Harvard Business Review, 2022. Machiavellianism finds its theoretical basis in Machiavelli's The Prince, 1532, while modern reinterpretations are offered by contemporary scholars in Leadership Quarterly, 2023. A forensic scan of Tai's on-screen dialogue reveals that his calculated lapses, such as the infamous 3 heavenly gifts sequence, result in an algorithmic redistribution of labor penalties equivalent to threefold increases in unpaid overtime. Data logs indicate that executives exhibiting similar behavioral traits have, on average, induced a 14% reduction in subordinates' overall well-being, as measured by amygdalar activity in recent neuroimaging studies. Drawing parallels to the corporate sphere, the scandal surrounding Theranos Elizabeth Holmes, a figure whose quirky genius persona masked profound strategic incompetence, serves as a real-world counterpart to Tai's narcissistic escapades. Investigative reports have drawn stark comparisons between the two, noting how both exploited charismatic ambiguity to evade accountability. New York Times, 2023. Unreleased production secret. Confidential production documents reveal that the 3 heavenly gifts sequence was inspired by an internal memo from a major tech company. This memo, never meant for public release, detailed the use of non-compete clauses, productivity tracking software, and electric scooter debt traps as part of an experimental employee retention strategy. Such raw corporate strategies, once declassified by the filmmakers, now serve as the foundation for Tai's dark parody. TIY, continuing with a sardonic chuckle. But what is mentorship if not the art of controlled chaos? Watch closely as I bestow upon you the gifts that bind you: golden hoops, fire-tipped spears, and wind-fire wheels. Each is a token of your inevitable surrender to the system. Here, we see the convergence of myth and modernity, a ritualized breakdown of the corporate contract that leaves no room for rebellion. Yet within this intricate dance of domination, the seeds of resistance are sown. Clause 66. Filial piety equals eternal servitude. As our analysis draws to a close, we leave you with a chilling revelation. The very tenets of filial piety have been repurposed into an endless contract of servitude. In the next installment, we will delve into the radical proposition that the act of killing your boss is not anarchy. It is, in fact, the ultimate expression of basic workplace hygiene. When Ne Zha shreds Li Jing's pernicious for your own good lies, he transcends tradition to perform what may well be history's first recorded act of quiet quitting. They told you to be grateful for the cage. Ne Zha asks, where's the goddamn keymakers?